Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that digs into the sources so you get the key takeaways fast.
And today, we are diving deep into something absolutely incredible happening inside you right now, your immune system.
Yeah, it's this constant hidden battleground. Your body's like this perfect environment for, well, things that want to invade it, bacteria, viruses, fungi.
Exactly, pathogens. And our mission today is to unpack how your body fights back, how it tells friend from foe, self from non-self, and launches these really sophisticated defenses.
We'll look at how you fight off infections, why some bugs are just so tough to beat, and what happens when the system itself goes wrong. Think of it as your guide to internal security.
And really, it boils down to two main strategies. First up is innate immunity. This is your rapid response team, the general alert. It's ancient, evolutionarily speaking, and pretty much all animals have it.
And the second.
That's adaptive immunity, much more specialized. It learns, it remembers, it tailors the attack. This one's unique to vertebrates like us. It's pretty amazing how they work together.
Okay, so let's start with innate immunity. The first responders, where does it begin?
Well, first, you've got to stop things getting in at all. So barrier defenses, physical and chemical shields.
Like skin, obviously.
Skin's the big one, yeah. Just a tough outer layer. But we have openings, right, for breathing, eating.
So those need protection too.
Right. That's where mucous membranes come in. They line your airways, your gut, other tracts, and they produce mucus.
The slimy stuff.
The slimy stuff. But it's brilliant. It's viscous, sticky. It basically traps pathogens and dust and whatever else shouldn't be there.
Clever. And you mentioned chemical barriers.
Yeah, so things like tears, saliva, even the mucus itself, they contain an enzyme called lysozyme.
Lysozyme.
It's fantastic. It breaks down bacterial cell walls, like a little demolition crew just for bacteria.
And I guess the body's internal environment can be hostile too.
Oh, definitely. Your stomach acid, it's around pH 2. Super acidic, kills most things you swallow. Even your skin is slightly acidic, which stops a lot of microbes from setting up shop.
Okay, so barriers are great, but what if something does get through?
Right, breach detected. That's when the internal innate defenses kick in, the cellular cavalry arrives.
And who are the main players here?
Key players are phagocytic cells. Think of them as the eaters.
Phagocytic? Like cell eating.
Exactly. You've got neutrophils, which are abundant in your blood and rush to infection sites, and then macrophages, literally big eaters. They patrol tissues and gobble up pathogens.
So like cellular Pac-Man.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah. They engulf and digest the invaders. There are others too, like dendritic cells and eosinophils, but neutrophils and macrophages are the heavy lifters for phagocytosis.
But how do they know what to eat? How do they spot the bad guys?
Great question. They have special receptors on their surface, like toll-like receptors or TLRs.
TLRs?
These TLRs are like pattern detectors. They recognize molecular signatures common to broad groups of pathogens, things like bacterial lipopolysaccharide or viral double-stranded RNA stuff that your cells just don't have. It's like recognizing a generic intruder alert signal.
So it's not specific to one type of bacteria, but flags it as definitely not us.
Precisely. It allows for a fast, broad response. Then you also have natural killer cells, or NK cells.
Natural killers. They sound serious.
They are. They circulate and scan your own body cells.
Yeah.
If they find a cell that's infected with a virus or has become cancerous, they don't eat it. Instead, they release chemicals that basically tell that cell to self-destruct. Apoptosis.
Wow. Okay, so they eliminate the compromised host cell.
Exactly. Stops the virus replicating or the cancer spreading. It's a different tactic.
And where do these cells hang out? You mentioned the lymphatic system earlier.
Right. The lymphatic system is crucial. It's like a parallel circulatory system, moving fluid called lymph. And your lymph nodes are packed with immune cells, especially macrophages, filtering the lymph. Dendritic cells also travel there to talk to other immune cells.
It's transport and surveillance.
Definitely. Now, besides cells, the innate system also uses weapons, antimicrobial peptides, and proteins.
Okay, what do those do?
Some are peptides that directly mess up pathogen membranes, like punching holes in them.
Ouch.
And then there are interferons. These are really cool proteins.
What makes them cool?
Well, when a cell gets infected by a virus, it releases interferons. These act like a warning signal to nearby uninfected cells.
Telling them to brace themselves?
Kind of. They trigger those neighboring cells to produce substances that block viral replication. It helps limit the spread of the virus. They work so well, we actually use them as medicine sometimes, like for hepatitis C.
Huh, interesting. And you mentioned one more system.
Yes, the complement system. This is a group of about 30 proteins floating in your blood plasma.
Complement. Like they complement the other defenses.
Exactly. When activated by pathogens, they trigger a cascade reaction. This can directly lead to lysis bursting of the invading cell. Plus, they help ramp up inflammation.
Which brings us to inflammation. We've all seen that, right? A gut gets red, swollen, warm.
That's it, the inflammatory response. It's a classic sign of innate immunity doing its job locally. Think of getting a splinter.
Okay, walk me through this splinter scenario. What's happening under the skin?
So the injury triggers specialized cells called mast cells in the tissue to release histamine.
Histamine.
Mm.
Like in antihistamines for allergies.
The very same. Here, histamine causes nearby blood vessels to dilate, get wider, and become more permeable or leaky.
Okay, wider and leakier.
That increased blood flow causes the redness and heat. And the leakiness lets immune cells, like neutrophils summoned by signals from macrophages, squeeze out of the blood and into the tissue where the splinter is. Antimicrobial peptides fled in too.
And all that stuff accumulating immune cells, dead germs, debris, that's pus.
That's pus, yes. It's basically the aftermath of the battle.
Now, inflammation is usually local, right? Around the splinter.
Mhm.
But can it be body-wide?
It can. That's systemic inflammation. A bad infection might cause your whole body to ramp up white blood cell production. A fever is another systemic response. Raising body temperature might help fight infection, though the exact benefits are still debated.
But too much systemic inflammation sounds bad.
Very bad. Septic shock is a life-threatening condition where the inflammatory response goes completely haywire across the whole body. Super high fever, plummeting blood pressure. It's dangerous. Shows how powerful this system is.
So innate immunity is this amazing first line. But pathogens fight back, don't they? They're not just sitting ducks.
Absolutely not. It's an evolutionary arms race. Some bacteria, like Streptococcus pneumoniae, have a capsule, like a slimy coat, that makes it hard for phagocytes to grab them.
He's sneaky.
And others are even sneakier. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the TB germ, actually lets itself get eaten by macrophages.
But doesn't get destroyed.
Nope. It has ways to resist being broken down inside the macrophage. It just lives and multiplies in there, hidden from other immune defenses. Really clever in a nasty way.
Okay, so innate immunity is the broad, immediate defense. But sometimes you need something more targeted, more powerful.
Exactly. That's where adaptive immunity steps up. This is the specific memory-building response found only in vertebrates.
And the key players change now.
They do. We're talking lymphocytes, B cells and T cells. They both start in the bone marrow, but B cells mature in the bone marrow, while T cells mature in the thymus, hence T cell.
Got it. And what do they respond to? You mentioned antigens before.
Right. An antigen is any substance, usually a protein or polysaccharide, on the surface of a pathogen that triggers a B or T cell response. And the specific little bit of the antigen that the immune cell actually binds to is called an epitope. Think of the antigen as the whole molecule and the epitope as a specific docking site.
Okay, epitope. And each B or T cell recognizes just one specific epitope.
That's the amazing part. Your body makes millions of different B and T cells, each with a unique receptor for one specific epitope.
Wow. How do B cells work with these receptors?
B cell receptors are Y-shaped proteins on their surface. When a B cell's receptor binds its matching antigen and gets some other signals, the B cell gets activated. Then it can differentiate into plasma cells that secrete a soluble version of that receptor. We call that secreted version an antibody or immunoglobulin, IG.
So antibodies are like free-floating B cell receptors.
Yeah.
And they kill the pathogens.
They don't kill directly, actually. They interfere or tag. They can perform neutralization, basically sticking to viruses or toxins so they can't enter your cells. Or they can clump pathogens together, aggregation, making them easier for phagocytes to eat. And they can also activate that complement system we talked about.
Okay, so antibodies tag and disable. What about T cells? How do they recognize antigens?
T cells are different. Their receptors don't bind to whole antigens floating around. They only recognize small fragments of antigens that are presented on the surface of your own body cells.
Presented, like the cell is showing off what's inside.
Kind of. Host cells use special proteins called major histocompatibility complex, MHC molecules, to display these antigen fragments. It's like the cell puts up a little flag saying, hey, I've got this foreign thing inside me, or I've captured this intruder.
MHC molecules. These sound important.
Crucial. They're the key to how T cells survey your body cells. Now, this whole adaptive system has some really defining features, 4 hallmarks.
Okay, what's the first?
Vast receptor diversity. How can your body make receptors for practically any possible epitope, even ones it's never seen?
Yeah.
It uses a really clever genetic trick. During B and T cell development, gene segments that code for the receptor proteins are randomly shuffled and combined. It's like having a small set of Lego bricks, but being able to build millions of unique structures. So you don't need a separate gene for every single receptor.
That's incredibly efficient.
Hmm.
What's hallmark number 2?
Self-tolerance. Since the receptors are made randomly, some could accidentally recognize your own body's molecules. That would lead to autoimmune disease.
Right, attacking yourself.
Exactly. So during maturation, any lymphocyte whose receptor binds strongly to a self molecule is normally eliminated or shut down. It's a critical quality control step.
Makes sense. Number 3.
Clonal selection and proliferation. Okay, so you have millions of different B and T cells, each waiting for its specific antigen. When that antigen finally shows up and binds to the right cell, that cell is selected. It gets activated and starts dividing like crazy, making thousands of identical copies of clone. Some become effector cells, the ones that fight the current infection, like antibody-secreting plasma cells or killer T cells. Others become long-lived memory cells.
Ah, memory cells. That must be the 4th hallmark.
You got it. Immunological memory. This is why adaptive immunity is so powerful long-term. The very first time you encounter a pathogen, the primary immune response can be a bit slow, maybe takes a week or two to peak.
Like when you get sick the first time.
Right. But thanks to those memory cells created during the primary response, if the same pathogen tries to invade again years later, the secondary immune response kicks in. And it is much faster, much stronger, and lasts longer. Often you don't even feel sick the second time.
Like with chickenpox, you usually only get it once.
Perfect example. That's immunological memory in action.
So how does the system coordinate all this?
Yeah.
Have B cells, T cells, antigen presentation. Who's the conductor?
The star conductor, really, is a type of T cell called the helper T cell. They are absolutely central. They're needed to activate both major arms of the adaptive response.
Both arms. Okay, how do they get activated themselves?
A helper T cell gets activated when its receptor binds to an antigen fragment displayed on an MHC class II molecule. These MHC toy molecules are typically found only on specialized antigen-presenting cells like dendritic cells, macrophages, and even B cells, which have engulfed an invader.
So an antigen-presenting cell shows the helper T cell the piece of the enemy.
Exactly. Once the helper T cell binds and receives some co-stimulatory signals, it gets activated. Then it starts dividing and releasing chemical signals called cytokines.
Cytokines, those are messenger molecules.
Yes, crucial messengers. These cytokines released by the activated helper T cell go on to stimulate other B cells and T cells that recognize the same antigen. It's like the helper T cell rallies the troops.
Okay, so let's follow those troops. What's the first arm they activate? The humoral immune response.
Right. Humoral refers to the body fluids, or humors. This response mainly targets pathogens outside cells, in the blood or lymph.
So bacteria floating around or viruses before they infect cells.
Exactly. Here, an activated helper T cell interacts with the B cell that has already encountered its specific antigen. The signals from the helper T cell fully activate the B cell.
And what does the activated B cell do?
It proliferates and differentiates. Some become memory B cells for the future. Most become plasma cells.
The antibody factory.
The antibody factories, exactly. They churn out huge amounts of antibodies specific to that pathogen. These antibodies then circulate, neutralize the pathogens, or mark them for destruction by phagocytes or complement.
Okay, that handles threats outside cells. What about viruses already hiding inside cells or cancerous cells?
That's the job of the other arm, the cell-mediated immune response. And the main effector cell here is the cytotoxic T cell, sometimes called a killer T cell.
Cytotoxic, cell killing. How do they know which cells to target?
They look for antigen fragments displayed on a different class of MHC molecules, MHC class I. Almost all nucleated cells in your body have MHC class I. If a cell is infected with a virus, it will chop up some viral proteins and display those fragments on its MHC class I molecules.
So it's like the infected cell is unwillingly waving a flag saying, I'm infected.
Pretty much. A cytotoxic T cell with the matching receptor recognizes that flag, the viral fragment on MHC class I, and binds to the infected cell.
And then the killing part.
Yep. The cytotoxic T cell releases proteins. One called perforin pokes holes in the infected cell's membrane. Others, called granzymes, enter through those holes and trigger apoptosis programmed cell death.
So it forces the infected cell to self-destruct, taking the virus with it.
Exactly. It eliminates the factory where the virus was replicating.
This whole system, especially the memory part, sounds like exactly what we use in vaccines.
It absolutely is. Immunization or vaccination is all about deliberately introducing antigens, maybe killed pathogens, weakened ones, or just pieces of them into the body.
To trigger that primary immune response.
Precisely. You generate effector cells and, crucially, memory cells without having to go through the actual disease. So if you encounter the real pathogen later, your secondary response is ready to shut it down quickly.
And it's been incredibly successful, right? Smallpox, polio.
Phenomenally successful. One of the
Yeah.
greatest public health triumphs ever. Which makes it, particularly frustrating when misinformation about vaccine safety discourages people because it really undermines that community protection.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned memory. Is there a difference between making your own immunity and, say, getting it from somewhere else?
Good distinction. What we've mostly discussed is active immunity. Your body actively mounts its own response, either through infection or vaccination. This creates long-lasting memory.
Okay, active is self-made. What's the alternative?
Passive immunity. This is when you receive pre-made antibodies from another source. It provides immediate but temporary protection because your body didn't make the antibodies or the memory cells.
Like a baby getting antibodies from its mother.
Exactly. Through the placenta before birth or through breast milk afterwards. That gives the baby protection while its own immune system is still developing. Or, medically, getting an anti-venom shot after a snake bite that's injecting antibodies made in another animal. Works fast, but wears off.
Okay, so the system is amazing, but it's clearly complex. Things must go wrong sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's a finely tuned system, and disruptions can happen. One major challenge is immune rejection in transplants.
Right, like needing a tissue match for a kidney transplant.
Exactly. The recipient's immune system, specifically those T cells, recognize the donor's MHC molecules as foreign, as non-self, even if the donor is human.
So the immune system attacks the life-saving organ.
It can, yeah. That's why doctors try to find the closest possible MHC match and why transplant patients usually need immunosuppressant drugs to dampen that immune response. It's a balancing act. Same reason blood types, ABO groups, have to be matched for transfusions. Those are different antigens.
What about things like allergies? Is that the immune system overreacting?
That's a perfect way to put it. Allergies are hypersensitive responses to basically harmless environmental antigens, which we call allergens. Pollen, dust mites, certain foods.
So my hay fever is my immune system freaking out over pollen.
Pretty much. In allergic people, the first exposure causes certain antibodies, IgE, to be made. These stick to mast cells. The next time you encounter the allergen, it binds to those antibodies on the mast cells, causing them to release floods of histamine and other inflammatory chemicals.
Leading to sneezing, itchy eyes, runny nose.
All those lovely symptoms. Antihistamines work by blocking histamine's effects. In severe cases, this reaction can be systemic and life-threatening. That's anaphylactic shock. Airways constrict, blood pressure drops dangerously.
Which is why people carry EpiPens.
Exactly. Epinephrine counteracts those effects rapidly.
And then there are diseases where the immune system attacks the body itself.
Yes, autoimmune diseases. This is when that crucial self-tolerance breaks down and the immune system mistakenly targets the body's own molecules.
Like type 1 diabetes.
Type 1 diabetes is a classic example. The immune system destroys the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. Multiple sclerosis is another, where it attacks the myelin sheath around nerve fibers. Lupus involves antibodies against DNA and proteins. There are many kinds. Genetics, environment, even gender can play roles.
It really highlights how important that non-self distinction is.
Critically important. And of course, pathogens are constantly trying to evade this whole system. We mentioned the arms race.
Right, like changing their appearance.
That's a big one. Antigenic variation. Pathogens evolve to alter their surface epitopes. Your memory cells remember the old version, but the new version slips past.
Is that why we need a new flu shot every year?
That's exactly why. The influenza virus mutates rapidly, changing its surface proteins. Sometimes different strains can even swap genes, creating completely novel versions, which can cause pandemics like the devastating 1918 flu.
So they're masters of disguise. Any other tricks?
Some use latency. They infect cells, but then basically go dormant, hiding from the immune system. Herpes viruses are famous for this, causing cold sores or genital herpes, then hiding in nerve cells, only to reactivate later, often triggered by stress.
Wow. And then there's HIV that directly attacks the immune system itself, right?
Devastatingly, yes. The human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, primarily infects and destroys helper T cells.
The conductors.
The conductors. By taking out helper T cells, HIV cripples both the humoral and cell-mediated adaptive responses. The immune system basically collapses. This leads to acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, where the person becomes highly susceptible to opportunistic infections and cancers that a healthy immune system would easily handle. Plus, HIV mutates incredibly fast, making it very hard to target.
That's terrifying. What about cancer in general? How does immunity relate?
There's definitely a link. People with compromised immune systems are at higher risk for certain cancers, and the immune system can fight some cancers, especially those caused by viruses.
How so?
Because the immune system can recognize the viral proteins in the infected, potentially cancerous cells as foreign, this is why vaccines against cancer-causing viruses like hepatitis B, liver cancer, and HPV, cervical cancer, have been so successful. We're essentially preventing the cancer by preventing the viral infection that can trigger it.
Using the immune system's own power.
Exactly. It's a huge area of research now, cancer immunotherapy, trying to boost the immune system's ability to recognize and kill cancer cells directly.
So wrapping this all up, it's just an incredibly complex, layered, and dynamic defense force.
It really is. From the physical walls like skin to the fast general innate response, and then the super specific learning, remembering, adaptive response, all working together, usually seamlessly.
And understanding it is key to so much in modern medicine, vaccines, treating allergies, autoimmune diseases, fighting infections, even cancer therapy. It affects everyone.
Absolutely. It's fundamental to our health and survival.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. This immune system isn't static. It's constantly evolving, locked in this perpetual arms race with pathogens that are also constantly evolving.
Yeah, what does that endless back and forth, that constant adaptation on both sides tell us about life itself, about evolution on this planet? It's a pretty profound question, isn't it?
It really is. Something to definitely think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the amazing world of the immune system. We hope you feel a bit more informed and maybe just, well, amazed by what's going on inside you.
Until next time, stay curious.